So first of all, many of you may know, who have known me for a while on this platform, that I have suffered from severe depression for my entire life, stretching back as far as I can remember. I have had various respites from it over the years, and occasionally it still wallops me, and I'm not ashamed to admit that I have this problem, because there are millions and millions of people who are chronically depressed or clinically depressed, however you want to frame it. I wanted to close my channel completely. When you spend so much of your time reading bad news, being inundated by it, environmental collapse weighs heavily, as does the fear of nuclear war, the creeping fascism, then it's hard to do anything if you're a creative individual to make things, because that's what has always been my purpose in life, or my reason for being seemed to be to make things, to produce something of value. I find it interesting that in studying the history of the Third Reich, that the lower working classes, or lower middle class, were Hitler's biggest base of support. And I guess we can see history repeating itself. And of course, I've been seeing this since the first time I saw that Lump 45 was running for president. The parallels were so obvious that I thought, well, nobody's going to take this seriously, because people know the results of authoritarianism, even in a lot of left-wing publications. Well, don't worry, he's not like Hitler, really, and everything's going to work out okay. It isn't. Knowing these things, knowing the capability for brutality that seems to be endemic in the human race, forgive my cynicism. And I think every once in a while I need to turn it off. It goes over and over in my head, the disastrous path that we face as human beings, the lack of civil discourse. The lack of civil discourse is perhaps one of the greatest things we have to worry about. People get locked into such rigid ideological straitjackets. They're unable to see two sides of any argument. So certain are they that their position is right, and there's a certain cognitive dissonance. One of my subscribers, who has been a regular commenter on the channel, is Jesus Price, I think his handle is, left me a message in the last video saying that, yes, well, you have to admit that baby boomers have caused, the mess in the world. It's all your generation's fault. And I was kind of shocked by it, because I'd kind of considered him to be sort of a lefty guy, and kind of a little more cognizant of perhaps the legend of the past 50 years and what has gone on. And I think as this generation grows older, and it's much like I was when I was young and blamed the older generation for everything. Everybody does. Every generation does it. And it's one of those cliches, but it's a truism. And as you age, you begin to realize that none of us would have acted any differently given the historical circumstances. We all are flawed human beings trying to make our way in the world. And I think that when we look at neoliberalism and the terrible toll that the political system has taken on human beings in the last 40 to 50 years, people tend to forget that this was not a deliberate manipulation on the part of a certain generation, any more than a certain race or religion. We're all human beings. We act within certain parameters. We tend to look out for ourselves to a certain degree. If these younger people had known me as a younger person, perhaps they would not be so judgmental of my generation, because I lived apart from society, basically. Did not drive a vehicle for many, many years. Ate a vegetarian diet, was aware of what was going on, and chose not to participate. And there were many like me who knew what was going on and chose not to participate. So when somebody says it's an entire generation that's to blame, no, it's members of a generation that are elites, that are, let's face it, how little influence any one of us has over the political fortunes and changing tides of public opinion that are manipulated by the bought and sold media. And I'd like to say hello again to many of the wonderful people that I've known through operating this channel. Cindy Matthews, who runs therevolutioncontinues.com blog space, which you should visit and keep going, because a lot of, and this is what's going to happen to a lot of smaller media outlets and smaller YouTube channels. They're about to undergo major shrinkage once again when G Plus disappears. And that, it was social media I could handle. I don't post there much anymore. I do like to read a lot of articles, and I'm connected with other progressive people, but it's slowing down so much that I'm sort of weaning myself off of it. I don't think I have any followers on MeWe because it's under my real name, not Vegematic, and most people don't know my real name and couldn't pronounce it or remember it if they did. I knew I was coming out of my depression today. We were listening to some music, and an old Who song came on called "The Song Is Over." And all of a sudden I got a tremendous rush and a tremendous pleasure from this song, and went, oh, I remember this. So sometimes maybe it's that we need to connect with things that we love and force ourselves to do it, even if things do seem hopeless and bleak. And I'm trying to fight depression at the same time as be aware of the horrible situation around us. I cannot be happy knowing how hard things are getting and are about to get for so many in the world. And we as humans create this hell on earth that the wisest among us have no say in, and the most stupid seem to be convinced that they have all the answers, and it's inevitably tied up with hatred and fear of the other. I'd like to say hello to Basil Peterson, who's a very intelligent human living off the grid, which is something that we should probably all aspire to. And those of us caught up in the maelstrom of industrialized insanity can dream about escaping from the matrix from the grid. Anyway, I'm going to close this off for now, because I've had a really rough week, and I'm afraid of the black dog of depression hitting me again. And maybe it's the lack of light because it's the middle of February, and by this point I've seen very little of the sun for so long. Maybe it's a vitamin D deficiency or something like that, but I'm trying my best to keep it together. And I'm sorry to all you folks, Tex, Hunter, many of you who I left a comment saying I was done with YouTube. And, you know, in my heart I really believed that, and I was depressed, and I thought this is never going to go anywhere, and blah, 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 blah. And, well, I'm eating humble pie here saying that was the depression speaking. And I'm going to continue because I've basically got nothing better to do right now. Maybe I do have better things to do, but I can do them along with this if I'm mentally healthy. If I can offer any advice or love or hope to anybody out there, I would like that. I would like this show to perhaps give some comfort to somebody out there who's going, I'm all alone and I feel isolated and I feel overwhelmed by what's going on in the world. And if I can reach out to those people, then it's worth doing what I'm doing, regardless of the size of the audience, which is probably just a reflection of one's ego when you get right down to it. So I need to grow up and not be concerned if I lose half the audience because of G Plus shutting down, or it just won't matter anymore, because there's friends I've made that I consider friends for a lifetime. Sandy Shellis, Hambone, people like a landlogger out in Saskatchewan, people from all over the continent and from overseas that I've come to respect, and it feels really good when they talk. So I'm going to close this off for now and send out all my positive vibes to all of you, and to perhaps send out some kind of hope, as difficult as that may be to find in these days. Oh, I'd like to mention LB Surrealistic Studios. Check out his channel. He's another struggling guy with a few, that's just a small YouTuber. So maybe LB can go the way of Bob TV, and all of a sudden things work out, right? Sometimes the good guys win, right? So let's hope that the good guys will win. And it's not likely, but at least we know that we're being the good guys and trying to make the world a better place. I've been honored over the years to make so many good friends, without whom definitely my life would be much diminished. Thank you, all of you. I know you care. I know that people out there care. I feel quite isolated right now, and separated by geography and politics and money and all those things. In spite of that, we're connected through this kind of electronic hallucination that we're all involved in, and some in more ways than others. So I want to wish everybody the best this week, and be strong and be faithful to what you believe in your heart to be true. Oh, and please, the more comments, and if I didn't answer your comments from last week, I usually do. I have the energy for it. This week I had a major depressive crash and couldn't do anything. So I'm emerging from my self-imposed exile right now and reaching out to my many friends on the internet. So please remember to leave a comment and chat for a bit. Let me know that this matters to you. It matters to my cat because he's outside the door whining. How come you're talking in there and I'm not there? With everything going on in the world right now, we're still here. We still have happy moments. We still have thoughts. We still have prayers for peace. We still have each other.